Oh, wow. I'm going to reach on over and fix this lighting for us because the sunset is beautiful, but it's definitely putting a weird glow on my face. Hello, everybody, and welcome. We are diving into anxiety and the bar exam, and we're going to make sure that you can get your anxiety under control when it comes to acing this bar exam. I'm going to check here and see who's joining us live. If you're joining us live, go ahead and say hi in the comments. I'd like to know what resources have you chosen, found, dove into? What do you do to help get anxiety under control when you're thinking about the bar exam or final exams or just life in general? What have you done? What have you gotten into to get anxiety under control? And I want to see in the comments everybody who's piling in and saying hi. Oh, I love it when we get to talk to each other like this in the comments. So I'm collecting polls, I'm collecting your your suggestions. Tell me, what do you do to get anxiety under control when you are approaching the bar exam? Now, I want to give you some hints and clues as to what might be holding you back, where the anxiety may be coming from, and then allow you to be able to look at your own situation and see if those apply to you, if that's your thing that you're going through, and if it is, some solutions, some steps that you can take to make this better. So please let me know if you're joining in live, and if you are, let me know what steps do you take, what things do you use to get anxiety under control when you're facing it in life. As you know, this is one of our bonus sessions throughout the challenge. We promised you 3 different bonus sessions. If you missed the first one we did, it was on Saturday afternoon. And that was about studying during COVID-19 lockdown times and how you could be productive at home, whether you had children bouncing off the walls or whether you were home stuck all alone, how you could be productive and actually maximize your study time during lockdown. Talking about maximizing study time, our next and last bonus session for this challenge will be on tomorrow evening, where we will talk about how to maximize your study season when it is lengthened unexpectedly. I was hearing from a program member just the other day, and unfortunately, she's had some serious, like, hitting close to home events occur around COVID 19. But she reached out in gratitude actually because when she joined many months ago, like 6 months ago, her bar exam wasn't scheduled until like a year out. At that time, she had no idea that she'd be running into these sorts of issues. And the fact is that the work that we did together to get her ready for the bar exam, even though it was, the bar exam was far out for her at that time, that work has led directly to her being able to be present and not worry and be able to stay on track bar exam wise, even though all this tragedy is happening. And so I just want to express to you that there is a way to make sure that every single minute of your time leading up to the bar will be utilized to the max so that you don't have to put it off to the last minute to study. You can feel prepared for your bar exam even months before it happens, and yet you still have very useful things to be accomplishing every day on the way up to your bar exam. So, tomorrow we're going to cover how to utilize a lengthened bar exam study season for yourself and to feel really smart and accomplished about how you use that extra time. Okay, that's tomorrow. Today, we're diving into anxiety. So, let me know in the comments, how do you handle anxiety when it comes to your exam, final exams, or bar exam, and maybe some other areas of your life where anxiety might come up? How do you handle it? Maybe at a job situation where you are scared that you might lose your job, or every task that comes across your desk, you're worried about whether you'll perform well. How do you handle it when anxiety arises? I would love to see your comments below. Would love to see your comments below. So, the first thing that you want to look at when it comes to bar exam anxiety, let me first describe whether or not you're even dealing with anxiety when it comes to the bar. Many of you know already what you're handling when it comes to the bar exam and if it's anxiety, but some of you may not, right? One of the main ways that you can tell if you have anxiety is, let's start from the outside looking in. You may either freeze or you may kick up into overactivity. People who freeze, they check out. They might think, I'm too relaxed. I don't seem to care. I don't seem to be worried. They kind of separate themselves from the situation, but not in a healthy way. How can you tell if it's healthy or not? Really, you can only tell if you've actually done an inventory of yourself. You've looked at all the possibilities moving forward, and you have actually come to a place of peace with whatever may happen on the exam. A real place of peace, not just, well, whatever happens, I'll accept it as what was meant to be. Not just that, but actually walking through in paper and pencil and saying, okay, well, if I fail the bar exam, how will I proceed? And if I pass the bar exam, how will I proceed? And having an actual game plan either way. And second, being at emotional peace with that game plan. Of course, we know that if you fail, you'll be terribly disappointed. But why would you be disappointed? Well, because I worked so hard and I didn't get what I wanted to out of it. Or maybe the icky feeling of having to tell your parents and your friends that you failed. Or maybe the feeling of being stuck in your life. Well, you're going to take care of that by doing your plan A and plan B, right? So if you've done all of this, you've explored it emotionally, you've written down your plan A and your plan B, and you're feeling relaxed and at peace, then your being chill is not a problem. But if you're chill and you know you haven't studied what you needed to study, you're behind on your study plan. If you're chill and you know that your scores on your practice is not what they're supposed to be looking like at this point, if you're chill and you're spending time helping family members, shopping online, or doing some other thing besides studying when you're supposed to be studying, if you're chill under those circumstances, then chances are you are checking out. And the reason why you may be checking out is simply you're tired, and tiredness has a lot to do with fighting anxiety. If you're fighting your emotions all the time, even if it's behind the scenes and you're not completely aware that that's what you're doing, you're constantly fighting the panic that arises every time you think about studying or every time you sit down to study. If you're doing that, first of all, I highly suggest you stay till the end. I'm going to give you the study meditation to kind of bring you to a good place when it comes to studying. But if you are constantly fighting some emotions around the bar exam, it's going to be apparent in how tired you feel, right? Well, all I did was study for a few hours. Why do I feel so tired? You're probably expending emotion, pushing down expending energy, pushing down emotion that you're unaware of. That's one way. You're super tired. You chill out when you're not in chill out worthy circumstances, but you're checked out when it comes to the bar. You freeze. So you know you're supposed to be doing something, but you don't do it. You know you're supposed to be studying, but you can't get to it. When you're in situations like that, you know you're fighting anxiety around the bar exam. And then overactivity, over studying. You're supposed to take a break, but you can't because your brain kicks into overdrive and all the noise and thoughts go through your head, and you can't rest unless you go back to studying. You know you're dealing with anxiety when it comes to that. Why is it important to identify anxiety? Well, most importantly, right now, because if you don't identify it, it's going to sabotage your bar exam performance. That's number one. And then when that happens, now you actually have proof behind the fear and behind the anxiety. So next time when you try to talk yourself out of being scared, it's a no go because you already proved to yourself you have ample reason to be scared. So we want to avoid having the anxiety become a self fulfilling prophecy. That's why it's so super important to identify and eradicate anxiety before the bar exam. But the second thing is this: if you're experiencing it now with the bar exam, you're likely going to experience it later with your first case or first client with a deadline that's looming, but maybe you're not completely sure how well you'll perform at your first trial. If you're going to be in the courtroom, you don't know how many attorneys break down in utter anxiety before their first trial. It's even more like of a big deal than the bar exam because you're on the spot, like for real. Like it's not just a private thing with an anonymized tests and numbers and people will know you failed because you say so. You're talking about you're standing in front of a judge, you're standing with opposing counsel, you're standing in front of your client, there may be a jury in the box. I mean, talk about many times more anxiety. So it pays for you to learn how to deal with anxiety now. So you identify if you are dealing with anxiety with the bar exam, number one. And if you know that you are, and if you're popping on, please go ahead and say something in the comments and let us know that you're here. Hey, Monica. Hey, Mara. Yes. So if this is speaking to you, let me know. And also drop in the comments, let me know what tactics, tips, tools have you used to help bring anxiety under control for the bar exam, for your final exams, or whatever other important situation in life that you have faced where anxiety popped up? What have you used? So, we've covered how you can tell if you're dealing with anxiety with the bar exam and why it's important to actually healthily deal with this anxiety for the bar exam and beyond the bar exam, right? So now we're going to go into some possible culprits for you when it comes to anxiety and why it might exist and ways that you could possibly deal with it. So the first thing that we want to look at when it comes to why you may be feeling anxiety is simply that you're not prepared. You're not, right? So in this case, a good study plan is important because you can look at your study plan that you wrote all out, which we did during this last week of the challenge, and you can see, am I on track with my studies? Because if you are, then the fear is beyond not being prepared, right? But if you're not on track, then you know why you're so anxious. So now you got to get back on track. Now you have to ask yourself, how did I get off track and why? See, when you're inside the inner circle, we coach with you weekly and check on you weekly. You have an accountability to check with daily, and you have me through Voxer, which is like a walkie talkie app, so that you could talk to me like in the minute. And this helps you stay accountable and on track every day, right? You can't really fall through the cracks because you're always seeing us. And so, with that in place, if you're in the mentoring circle, you won't fall off track with your bar study plan. We'll make darn sure that you don't. However, if you don't have accountability, there's no one around you watching. You can basically, BS your way through your study time. Now you can find yourself in an instance where it's 1 or 2 weeks since the time that you've actually done what you're supposed to do with your study plan, and you're behind and you're off track. And now the anxiety is mounting. This is to be expected if you allowed yourself to get off track. So now you have to look at how to get back on track and stay on track. Do you need to build in accountability, right? Again, in the inner circle, we backstop that problem. It doesn't even start because you start with the accountability right away. Do we need to build in accountability? Okay, how are you going to devise a plan to catch up? Okay, and how are you going to forgive yourself for falling out? And then detect why you fell off of your plan and resolve that, because it will happen again if you don't detect why you fell off to begin with. So that's the first thing. The first reason why you may be anxious when it comes to preparing for the bar exam, or anxious as the bar exam approaches, is because you're not prepared or you believe you're not prepared. You can easily detect whether you actually are prepared or not by whether you're on track with your study schedule. You don't have to be able to score 90% in the subjects if you're 3 months out from the bar exam. But if you are on track with your schedule, you can allay your fears and accept the fact that yes, you are prepared or you are preparing and you are on track. Okay. Now, if you have been preparing, you are on track, but you still feel that anxiety, there could be other things that are behind it. So, reason number two why you might feel anxious while you're preparing for the bar exam is simply this: you're afraid you're going to fail. Hey, Bianca, welcome in. You're afraid you're going to fail. I was just checking here to see about people who have come in and how they deal with anxiety, right? And so, the next reason why you might be anxious, even though you are on track with preparing for the exam, you've done what you're supposed to do, you may be anxious because of your fear of failure. How do we deal with that? Well, I gave you some hints to that earlier in this talk, which is create your plan A and your plan B. It is completely okay to know how you're going to still live a really good life, even if you've failed the bar. It might not be your ideal, but what I like to work with people one on one in creating a plan B that feels so good that they actually don't even care anymore whether they pass or fail, because they actually want to have a chance to go do this fun thing that we've created together. Okay, and then they end up passing because they release the attachment to failing, and that's really what you have to do. It's a psychological thing, and it's in spiritual matters as well. You can go research, Buddhist principles, or um, anything really, like any faith principle. This is what faith is, right? When you believe, you will have it, and so you actually release the need to go and figure out how, where, when, why, what. You just take your daily steps and you keep your eye on the prize, believing that it'll come in. But to do that, you have to be non-attached. Non-attachment comes when you have come to peace with not getting it. Now it seems backwards because I really want it. So for me to really have it, I have to be at peace with not getting it. Yes. And how do you do that? Well, there are reasons why we want to pass the bar. And if you and I get to talk together, where I have like deep intensive sessions one on one with people who come into the inner circle mentoring program. But when you and I get to talk together, we get to find out what your deep intrinsic motivations are for accomplishing this bar thing, and what your deep fears may be that's pushing you to the bar thing. Some people are being propelled by purpose, and other people are being propelled by fear. We got to find out which one it is for you. And then we have to build a plan around that, a strategy around that, so that you can finally release attachment to passing the bar. It's the release of attachment that makes it easy to flow through the bar exam. It's the release of attachment that allows you to know that you're going to be okay regardless, right? Some of it is attached to what people will think of you. We have to work on that. Some of it is attached to the reason why you decided to become an attorney in the first place, and maybe a belief that you can't fulfill that purpose of yours unless if you pass the bar exam. And then the bar exam becomes a whole gateway to whether you can even live your purpose, your reason for being. That's huge. And with all those things firmly in place, there's no way you could be non-attached to passing the bar. And so we have to address what all of that is so that you can release attachment and you could be easy about it. This is how we take away the anxiety around the bar exam. And can you see, like, doing this inner work dissolves the anxiety, which means now you can actually pay attention to your studies, actually retain what you learned, and actually pass the bar. So non attachment contributes to you passing, but you have to go inside and do that inner work first. And of course, by yourself, you can go away to the Himalayas or wherever and go adopt yourself a Buddhist monk to study under, right? And you'll get somewhere. But we don't have time for that, right? And I have studied and have worked with dozens of bar exam takers to condense this process and make it quick, right? So you need to get down to why you're afraid of failing. If you checked off the box on number one, you're on task, you're on track with your study schedule, you are where you're supposed to be, but you're still feeling anxious. You need to look at, okay, is this about a fear of failure? Okay, and then if so, the answer is not, well, just stop being afraid, because if that was the case, then the bar passage rates would be a lot higher than they are today. The answer is going to be more around investigating all the intricate details behind your motivations, your fears, and why that fear of failure looms so huge for you. Does that make sense to everyone? I see quite a few people on here watching. Go ahead and let me know if this makes sense to you. So the first thing you look at is whether you're on track, because anxiety could be because you're actually behind. And then the second thing to look at is your fear of failure, right? Your fear of failure when it comes to the bar. The last thing that we can look at when it comes to passing the bar or feeling anxiety around the bar is, you hear it all the time: fear of failure versus fear of success. Fear of success. And if you have a fear of success, it's not because you're afraid of passing the bar, it's generally because you're afraid of what comes after, right? A lot of people have no clue what they really want to do with their legal credentials. And they thought about a certain area of law that they weren't really into, or they started off with an idea of what they wanted to do, but as they went through law school, they changed as people. People change. This is normal, especially when you go through something as life-changing as a legal education. You will change as a person, and what you originally intended to do might not fit anymore. Okay. Or you could now know practicing attorneys who you personally know, and you're observing their life and you're like, I don't want to live like that. How many of you have gotten that? Like, you're looking at people who are living right now and you're like, I don't want to live like that. Okay. And so these are all fear of the success. It's not about actually passing the bar, it's about what happens after you pass the bar. Right. I wrote an article recently. It's still the first article you'll pull up if you go to jenniferduclair.com/articles /articles. And it's about like what you have to deal with after you finally pass the bar. Okay, and how that is so scary sometimes that it can actually be the reason why people keep themselves from passing the bar. So if any of that resonates with you, here's a solution that you want to look to. You really want to look at what happens after the bar for me. Write that down on a paper, the question mark. What happens after the bar exam for me? After I pass the bar exam, what happens for me? And if you cannot write in there what your ideal life would be, we have a problem. Okay. If you write down what your ideal life could be, but it doesn't seem at all attainable to you, it seems like you're just like a pipe dream right now, we have a problem. Okay. All of those things add up to unknown. And your survival mechanism, which we call the ego is all about keeping you alive. It's all about itself. Okay. And it gets to live in your body. So if like you're putting yourself in danger, it's like, no, no, pump your brakes. Okay. The ego is not going to let you dive headlong into a big, scary unknown, especially if the future you have in mind is actually one that you don't like. For example, you see your people you graduated with or people who graduated the year before you working from 6 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. and working hard. And you know you wouldn't like that life, but this is the one that you're headed for. The part of you that knows you would be miserable is going to sabotage your bar exam. It's going to pump the brakes on your progress. You're going to not do what you need to do throughout study season. You will be doing self sabotaging acts. Okay. And it'll be hard to pinpoint where those self sabotaging acts come from. Now, what happens if you don't detect that self sabotage and correct it in the real time is that it snowballs. But at the end of the day, you can't tell that that's the problem. And all you can think of is, I'm bad with my MBE. I should have practiced more PTs. That's all that you that's all that you can think is the problem. Not detecting that there were some tiny problems that mushroomed into bigger problems as you went through the study season, took the bar, didn't pass the bar, and now have to study for it again. These problems build on each other until you have this big tangled mess. That's why I love when people come in before they ever take the bar exam the first time, because they can start solving all those little issues and not be in a situation where problem has piled on top of problem and everything has snowballed and now everything's out of control and it's even harder to get down to the bottom of everything to pass the bar, right? I love it when you come in as soon as you know this might be an issue and you work on it right away. Like, this is not just an issue for bar takers passing the bar. We all have life things that get in the way of us meeting our goals. People come to me for coaching and they're not law students at all, or they're trying to do something else altogether, but they know that mindset is everything. And so they come to get this help. So whether you're sure you'll pass the bar or you're not so sure, or you pinpointed your mindset issues or you didn't at all, it is absolutely beneficial to you and your future to seek, find, and eliminate the mindset traps that are keeping you from moving forward as quickly as you could move forward. Now, you can move forward. It'll just take longer. Okay, you can move forward and you can eventually succeed. You really can, right? It just may take longer than you were wanting to spend. And it might cost you more than you were wanting to spend too, with trying after trying after trying after trying. Okay, so I highly recommend that wherever you are, give serious consideration to working on your mindset to remove these barricades to passing the bar exam, right? And having an intense conversation with someone who is experienced with your type of situation so they can point out to you the things that you are not seeing, your blind spots. So if you're here and you're looking and you're saying, you know what, I think I need to get a spotlight on my blind spots so I can see if this is something, yeah, I need to start working on it right now, then I want you to pay attention, because I'm going to drop a link in the comments for you to look and to determine, okay, I think I'm going to go for this because I need to resolve these blind spots. So I'm going to drop a link for you, and this is a special link. And the reason why it's special is because it lets you get a one-on-one session with me for free. Now, this is not something that is offered to everyone everywhere, because time with me goes at $4.75 an hour. That's the going rate right now. But what I'm doing for you, because you've been following through with this challenge all this time, and excuse me looking over here because I'm copying the link for you right now. But you've been following through with this challenge all this time. You've been with me, you've watched this session, and you have an idea of what could possibly be holding you up. You're not one of those people who are a little less informed, who think it's simply an MBE problem. You're starting to understand there's something that's happening here that's actually not just an MBE thing. And it could benefit me greatly to find out what the mindset traps are that I'm dealing with. And because you have that knowledge already, it makes it so much easier for me to offer this time to you. It's a 30-minute slot to be able to talk with me one-on-one, so that we can start shining a spotlight on what you personally are dealing with mindset wise with the bar exam. So I'm going to drop that link right here. It's a 30-minute talk. Perfect. I'm going to drop that link right there. Go ahead and use that one time to create that 30-minute time slot with me, where we can talk with you and we can find out what's holding you back on the bar exam, what's your mindset thing, and how we're going to resolve it so that you can get past this barrier, this block, and pass the bar. So if you've been here, we went from the top to the bottom: anxiety about the bar exam, the reasons why you might be anxious, and what to do to get it under control. Number one, you may be anxious because you're not prepared or you feel unprepared. When we talked about what to do with that. Number two, you're anxious because you're afraid of failing. We talked about what's really behind the fear of failing and how to resolve that. And number three, we talked about you're anxious not for failing, and not even just for passing, not fear of success per se, but fear of what happens after your success on the bar exam. And we dove deeply into what we need to do for that. All of the solutions behind these things takes some introspection. And introspection on your own takes a lot of time and a lot of money that you're not looking to spend, because you have a goal that you want to meet already. And if that's the case, I invite you to use the link that I just dropped in the comments to create a 30-minute session to speak with me, so that we can explore your blind spots. What's in your mindset arena that's giving you trouble with the bar exam, and then how you can move forward to get help resolving those and finally getting past the bar. So if that speaks to you, then this link is for you, and I look forward to talking to you. And in the meantime, I'm also going to drop you the link for the study meditation that I promised you at the beginning of this talk. And this study meditation is going to help you to get into the mind frame of studying so that you can be peaceful moving forward to study for your bar exam every single session. People who aren't even taking the bar exam, they're taking other exams in other areas of life, they use this meditation. It helps. They've been able to skyrocket their careers because they needed it for career centric exams that they had to pass so they can move to the next level. This free meditation earned them thousands of dollars of salary. Okay, so I'm going to drop this for you because it is valuable, and you're going to want to go ahead and download it and use it daily to prepare for your study sessions every day. Now, I'm going to check the comments right here to see if we got any questions while I was teaching, and to see if we can answer any of your questions here. Remember to come by tomorrow for our talk about the lengthened study season and how you can use that to your benefit. Remember to come by for that. So Monica says, I think I just do my best, and whatever happens is exactly what's supposed to happen. And it's not in my power anymore. I did everything I could. Here's the question, Monica: did you do everything that you could? Right? And so we're not here in this group by mistake. A lot of us are hearing for the first time that there's a mindset component to passing the bar, right? So we can say, I've done everything I could and let it go. And there's a time and a place for that when you have exhausted your resources. But when life helps you out by bringing you this novel idea, this thing you haven't thought about. Oh my goodness, mindset is a thing when it comes to the bar exam. That's a resource you haven't exhausted yet. And now we owe it to ourselves to exhaust that resource. If we don't, dive in and use this new resource that maybe it's the first time we've ever heard of it. If we don't do that, now we can say, you know what, I have to own the fact that I didn't use every resource that was presented to me. Now, you can lose yourself in diving into every single thing that's presented to you. So you really do have to do a gut check, a heart check, a check in with your higher power. Is this something that you brought me to help me along? Is this the answer to what I've been hoping and praying for? Some people know instantly, right away. Some people, they talk themselves out of their own solution until like a year or two later. And that's, your path to take, whatever path you have to take. But before you say, I've done everything I can do, check with yourself, is that an honest statement? Check with yourself on that. Otherwise, then you are checking out and chilling out and shutting down out of anxiety. And people do that when they feel like there's no answer, there's no hope, there's nothing I can do. That is hopelessness. We do not want to get to hopelessness around the bar exam. Not at all. Let me know. Hi, Gabrielle. So happy to see you here. Right, Bianca, exactly. So you have to be strategic. You can't just dive into any old resource that's being presented to you. But there is something to be said for this is the first time I've heard about this. It's never occurred to me before. Is this something that's being brought to me for me, or is this a red herring? Right? And you have to think about that, right? Because we could pass on something that's actually the door opener to the rest of our lives. There's a reason why people who come through our programs to pass the bar exam come back after they've passed and they want to continue this road with us because they realize that this here is the stepping stone to dreams undreamed of. The trajectory of their lives shoots forward exponentially. They're doing things they never thought they would be doing because of the ability to unshackle their minds and allow themselves to soar. Right? One person who her story is posted in this group, she dabbled with a second language, and she had a part-time job at an agency that she really liked and wanted to become an attorney with that agency. And she worked with us to pass the bar. She worked with us to get past insecurities, anxiety. She worked with us to build back the self-confidence. She passed the bar exam, and then she started working on this second language, which was amazing. She loved using the second language, but there's a self-consciousness around it. But she kept working on it. She, like, when people invited her to come in and sit with a client who spoke the second language, she accepted, and she would go in and she would speak, regardless of how she might think she looked, stupid or foolish or otherwise. And we continued working together. And then she got an offer to go and be the person spearheading a new branch of the agency's office opening up, all in her first year, right? Because we kept doing the work. And so even after that, she's continuing to get responsibilities and opportunities. Her first and now second year as an attorney, the trajectory is completely different from people who had no mindset resolutions going on and just barely scratched by the bar, right? Especially people who pass after multiple attempts. The self-confidence and the ability to soar is it's lower. There's just the truth of how it turns out when it's taken so many times to pass. Unless if you've done your mindset work and you've built all that stuff back up past the bar and walked into your attorney life knowing that you are the creator of your life. You get to decide how it's going to be. And you get the resources to do that because you've learned how to unlock the shackles in your mind. So, with all that success, she's come back. I want more coaching because she knows that it can always be better than what she's attained and achieved. And it's getting better even as we speak. Even though she's doing so well, it's increasingly becoming better. There's a reason why our clients come back. This stuff works for life. It gets you past the bar, you get a taste, you get your success, you go start making your money, and then you're like, you know what? I know I'm meant for more, even more than this. Even though last year this was all I could dream of having, but now that I have it and I understand the process behind achieving my goals, I know I can have more. I'm going to get some more guidance so I can get to my next goal, my next level. There's a reason why our clients come back and send their friends. So I'm leaving you this, right? Think it through deeply. Do you want to do another bar exam round on your own without support? Do you want to go this alone and stumble around? That's okay. Sometimes that's what we need to do in order to solidify our decision to finally get help. Okay, so everybody has their path to walk, and your path is your path. But if you know that it's time for you to get on in and start actually being supported and guided, then use that link that I put there. It's a link to be able to get a confidence kickstart call for free. Go ahead and use that link. I'm actually going to only let it stay there until Tuesday, and then I'm going to delete it on tomorrow because my time doesn't get given for free just like that willy nilly. So we're going to delete that link by tomorrow. Go ahead and click on that and use it to be able to get the help that you need, the support that you need to not only pass this bar exam, but build a life more beautiful than you ever dreamed of. I'm leaving you with that tonight. I'll see you tomorrow for our last and final bonus session, talking about how to utilize the lengthened study season for the bar exam. And that's it for now. Good night and goodbye for now.